Welcome to Ready Set RC, and today we have the team associated Apex2 1/10 scale Hoonitruck. This is Team Associated's first introduction to the Hoonigan lineup, guys, and hopefully we see more to come. As you guys know, prior to this, HPI was the one that had an agreement with Hoonigan. They came out with a few WR8 models under the Hoonigan brand, and also a Hoonicorn, which was under the RS4 lineup. This is officially licensed by Ford. It is a 1/10 scale, ready to run, four-wheel drive, electric on-road RC. The Apex 2 is a new chassis. It's an updated version of the Apex chassis. Now let's go over the dimensions for this truck. The overall length is 458 millimeters. The wheelbase is 259 millimeters. The overall width is 200 millimeters. And this truck is sold in two different offerings. We bought the RTR, but there is also a LiPo and charger combo that can be purchased with this truck. But here we are, guys, with the team associated Apex2 Hoonitruck. And let's just go over what you get in the box. You get some plastic bits, which also includes side mirrors for this truck, and a 17-tooth spur gear to go with it as well. You also get a 25-tooth servo horn, some marketing material from Team Associated, some additional stickers for the truck. You get the owner's manual for the ESC, the owner's manual for the radio system. This includes the transmitter and receiver. And if you've owned the XP120 before, it's the same manual that you would have gotten in all of your Team Associated XP120 models. I've gone through quite a these in most of my videos, so if you guys have been watching the videos, you definitely have seen this manual before. And then you get the owner's manual for the truck, and their manuals are pretty thorough, guys. They go through full blowouts. I'll show you a couple of shots of what that looks like. It's completely in black and white, but it shows you how to go through turning on the vehicle for it the first time, going through your shocks and your diffs, setting up your gear mesh, going through the chassis, and I'll bring you guys in on this one too. It looks like your slipper assembly, which I would have thought this would have had your slipper assembly on this. It's actually a locked diff in the center. So that's what we're going with here. It looks like they locked it out completely. And then we have the spur gear here. The spur gears are 48 pitch, so that you're aware of that. Most on-road 1/10 scale cars, you'll tend to find that they are 48 pitch. Then they give you some assembly instructions of how they install the molding bits on the body, just in case if you ever broke one off and you need to order another one to install it on there yourself. And then we have the Team Associated XP120. I've had this controller for quite some time. In most of the RCs that I've been buying from Team Associated, it gives you all of your trim settings. So you have your reverse for your steering, your throttle trim, your dual rate for your throttle, your steering trim, your dual rate for your steering, your on-off switches right here. It is a 2-channel controller. You have a nice foam wheel. Throttle feels good in the hand. Standard 4 AA's down at the bottom. But here we are, guys, the Hoonitruck. And at the time of this video, guys, I will say this is probably one of the most polarizing RCs at this time. We'll talk about what makes it polarizing throughout while we're going through it. But let's go through this truck, guys. In regards to the body, we have quite a few molded bits on this. They are all mounted down by hex hardware on the reverse side. What I did not notice before is that you have LED mounts for lights in the front. If you choose to put those in, it does not come with LEDs. You have a composite molded grille. The bumper is part of the Lexan, so that's something to be taken here nor there. You have molded composite bits here on the sides, another one up here. Everything else that you see here is all decals. The Hoonigan on the side is a decal, another decal here. This is a decal here. The 00 that you see up on the top, that's also a decal. Windows are also decals as well. They have a nice roll cage that you can see right here, and that is also mounted with hex hardware. There's another decal that you're seeing here in the bed, and then you have the spoiler coming off the rear. And mine, I don't know if you guys are seeing, let me give you a better angle. Mine's a little warped right here in this section, and hopefully you guys are able to pick that up. I'll try to make that as straight as possible. But yeah, mine's a little warped right here. At this price point, maybe shouldn't have came warped. But yeah, that's another thing. But we have a lot of decals going on in here. There are no LED buckets in the rear. If you're looking to put LEDs in, you'd have to do those yourself. There are a couple of extra pieces of Lexan throughout this RC, and I guess that's to give it the more realistic look to it. So we do have a piece of Lexan here, another one on the rear added to the RC. But the Apex 2, guys, and let's go through this. So we have a nice foam bumper on the front. We also have adjustable body mounts on here with a lot of different positions to adjust your body on the truck. Then we have a composite bulkhead. Then we have the first G10 fiberglass shock tower up in the front. And then that has attached to it coil over, screw down adjustable oil shock. I'm not sure if you guys are noticing it, but yeah, I'm not a fan of the weight that's in these shocks, if there's even any shock oil at all. Just seems like they give it more of an impression like they're friction shocks. And they're not. They are oil-filled shocks, but that weight just seems a little light for me. I'm going to take it out stock for the first time, run it the way it is with this shock oil in here, and then I may adjust accordingly. But I usually like for my on-roads to be a little stiffer than this. Even if it's considered more of a drift car, if that's what they're aiming for, I would have expected a little bit of a heavier weight oil in there. But we'll see what those look like. We have no adjustments for camber or tow up in the front. Everything is fixed. We have a composite steering plate on here. The bell crank, the entire steering module is all composite. We have dog bones in the front, but I will say that the outdrives are all steel. So we have steel dog bones. We have steel dog bones in the front with steel outdrives. And throughout this RC, we have rubber seal ball bearings. The A-arms in the front and also in the rear, they are all composite. There is no droop adjustment on this RC, and there are no sway bars front or rear on this RC. We have a steel center drive shaft on this RC as well. But I will say the outdrives on the center drive shaft, those are composite. You have a spool for the center diff on this truck. And then that ties back to the rear diff. The ring and pinion in the diffs, front and rear, are metal. Shock tower in the rear also is that G10 fiberglass. And the shocks in the rear are the same as the front. Coil over, screw down, adjustable oil-filled shock. And this feels like the same weight of oil also in the rear. I mean, we have several shock adjustments on the upper and lower, front and rear. We have the G10 fiberglass chassis on this RC as well. Steel dog bones in the rear with steel outdrives. For electronics, we're looking at a 15 kilogram servo with a metal servo horn. Reedy SC500X programmable brushed ESC. The ESC is 2S and 3S LiPo compatible. And then for the motor, we're looking at a Reedy Sport 550 15-turn 3-slot brushed motor. The motor is held down with an aluminum motor plate. As for the tire compound, they feel grippy. Not too stiff, but probably stiffer than most of the RTR cars you're going to find at this time. We do have those injected molded brakes on the back side of the wheel. The receiver box on this is water sealed, so take it for a grain of salt. I'd say this is splash proof, but keep in mind you do have your bearings and everything else that is probably not water resistant. The battery tray, which is probably going to be the largest part of the controversy outside of the brush system on this, is a fixed, and yes, I am saying fixed, shorty pack size battery tray. Yes. And the batteries are held down by a hook and loop Velcro strap. Take that one in for a little bit, guys. And here we are, guys, the team associated Apex2 Hoonitruck over here on the left with the HPI Hoonicorn on the right. And just to be clear, guys, this car is not my car. This is a loaner car. My brother actually has a brand new Yes, that is right. A brand new RS4 Sport 3 Hoonicorn. And he was happy to loan it to me for the show today to show you guys this. Now, I still do have my tires and body for my old one, but I since sold off my RS4. So that's why I was happy to have him be able to donate his car for the show today. But I wanted to give you guys a quick comparison between the two, especially since the revival of the Hoonigan brand in the RC community again. Just wanted to show you guys these two cars. Now, at the time that the Hoonicorn came out, I had purchased mine for $299.99 US, and I thought that was a lot. So now we have the Hoonitruck selling for $389.99. So you guys already know where my thoughts are with this truck. Getting over that, underneath these shells, we're basically looking at a 1/10 scale RC, guys. And these are pretty much, you're gonna see the same length wheelbase, but what you're gonna see is the tire or the width of the tire is different. And that's because this car is running some serious offsets, not only in the front, but in the rear to give us that realistic look. Now, this car also came brushed, just like the Team Associated. And I want to be clear, these cars are supposed to be seriously overpowered. And if they're to be replicas, maybe these two companies should have thought of making these cars brushless. But I'm going to keep any further thoughts on that to myself. This was a fairly old design chassis in the RS4 Sport 3. And I'm glad to see that they made the updates to the Apex2 when they released it with this. So I'm curious to see what future models look like when they release this further. From the width difference, you can clearly see the offset of the Hoonicorn to the Hoonitruck. Makes me almost wish that the Hoonitruck was a little wider when you're looking at next to the Hoonicorn. You're looking at the chassis layouts, you can clearly see there are two different RCs, but I want to show you some of the thinking between HPI and giving us that longer battery tray for us to put our 2S packs in here, because this is 2S LiPo ready as well. They also gave us a 15-turn motor in this. Can kind of see what I was talking about in reference to the RS4 and the chassis layout. It's just an older design. I'm happy to see that HPI is kind of taking that different approach, even though I will say when you're looking at the RS4, and you guys aren't going to pick this up on video, the RS4 is a lot lower laying chassis, which I would have loved to have seen the Apex2 doing that as well. I want to give you guys a chance to see how much wider the RS4 offset is to the Apex2, and it's a little bit in the front, but it is dramatic in the rear. And I'll give you guys another angle so you can see the rear of it. But for the rear, it's dramatic. I'll try to move them over as far as possible to line them up on one side so you guys can see what that looks like. So this is what we're looking at in the front, and that's what we're looking at in the rear. So you guys can get a better idea as to what that looks like. In the rear, it's dramatic. I mean, as for the overall length and the wheelbase, you guys are seeing that. It's the same. So this is just basically a standard 1/10 scale RC. And, you know, this is kind of what we're looking at with the Apex2, just a standard 1/10 scale on-road RC. Now I threw the shell of the Hoonitruck on the Hoonicorn, so this is what it would look like. I'm trying to center it as much as possible. Now they're not coming through the body mounts or whatsoever. You'll still need to do that if you're planning to do this. For the wheelbase, you can see it fits. I'm definitely going to try putting the Hoonicorn wheels and tires on the Hoonitruck and see how it fits. I'll probably give that to you guys as the last shot leading out of this video. Here we are, guys, the Hoonitruck, and this is my Traxxas 4Tech 2.0. That's right, 2.0. And this is about the standard size of what you would find on a typical 1/10 scale on-road RC. I didn't want to bring the 3.0 out because the 3.0 is definitely a longer car. The dimensions are a little bit different than what you would get on your typical 1/10 scale. I'll take the bodies off so you guys can see that. I won't hold you guys here long, but I want you guys to see what that looks like for 1/10 scale. Same wheelbase, there's not any difference there, guys, and I'll line them up even best as possible. There's nothing there on the wheelbase different. I'm running a little bit different tires and wheels that you see on the Vortec, so that's why you may see a little bit of a height difference. The standard brushed Vortec also does come with a serious offset in the front and the rear on that car too. This is the GT version, so this one definitely has a little bit of an offset on this tires and wheels. I'm running a different foam tires on this, kind of on it, so that's why you're seeing a little bit of a different setup on there. The Apex 2 is just a standard 1/10 scale on-road RC, and you guys can see based on the wheelbase that it is. So if you are looking for different bodies for your Apex 2, or if they release an Apex 2 without the shell, it's just a standard 1/10 scale on-road RC body that you'll be looking for. Now, I only did that on one side of the truck, guys. I just wanted to see what that looked like and also show it to you. I don't think it looks too bad. I think I prefer the white ones a little bit better. But I don't think it looks too bad. There's a little bit of extension of the wheels on this, and then that's because there are 10 millimeter offset on the front and 15 millimeter offset on the rear. I probably would prefer the stock wheels and tires on this more than I would prefer these. I mean, they don't look bad, but I think I would prefer the other ones more. But we're gonna leave it here, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram for our latest post to the channel. This is Ready Set RC, signing out. Thanks again, guys.